Welcome back. Samplesville Goods coming to you from rainy Southern California. So in the last video I was talking about Fukushima and the prospect of radiation taking us out is not a small one. It's not, Fukushima is an example of what can easily, there are over 400 nuclear power plants worldwide. And that doesn't include all the nuclear weapons stockpiles we have and nuclear waste that we have floating around in the world. I mean, I believe in the last couple of years there was a story about nuclear, about like a dumping ground that was near St. Louis, and it was like there was an underground fire. Oh, I know what it was. There was like a garbage site that was on fire, and it had been on fire for years or something. Underground. They couldn't put it out for whatever reason, and it was nearing a nuclear waste facility, and they were worried that this fire was going to, contact this nuclear waste. So, I mean, it's not just nuclear power plants. There are many, many ways in which something can go very, very wrong. And if you follow Cliff High and the Webbot at all, you know that in the last, I think over the last year or so, he's been getting signals that there's going to be some catastrophe in the southeastern United States, that there's going to be a meltdown or multiple meltdowns, and there's going to be a mass exodus of people out of the southeast trying to get away from some disaster. So, if you know what the Webbot is, or if you put any faith in it, that's something to look out for. That's supposed to be happening pretty soon, in the next, year or two. Anyways, this is a huge, huge problem that we need to address and hopefully get our minds right about. I'm going to go into just kind of talk about a few videos that I watched today. I'm going to link them in the description box. One of them is titled "Potential Abrupt and Dramatic Changes in the Atlantic It's oddly worded title. But basically, what this guy was talking about is he was talking a lot about the AMOC, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Current, which is the Gulf Stream, and how it's slowing down and possible consequences of that. And a lot of people think that if the AMOC stops, that it's going to bring on another ice age, which takes its cue from the movie The Day After Tomorrow. And, we don't know what's going to happen if the AMOC stops. Who knows? It could trigger an ice age. Although it's unlikely that is going to counter all the other feedbacks that are happening, in a world where we don't have all this carbon forcing and these feedbacks forcing heating, for a possible ice age to counter against. It could be likely, but I if there's any kind of like ice age type symptoms that are brought on, I think would quickly be countered by the immense amounts of radiation, heat, and everything else that's going on, that especially in the oceans. but we'll see. I mean, we'll see probably sooner than later. So, anyways, this guy has a lot of good information. It's a slightly dry video, but it's worth a watch. And the main points, that I wanted to highlight from this talk is that he says that the slowing of the AMOC has been underestimated by, models. Also, the ice loss of Greenland has been underestimated by models and by readings, and that this is a non-linear phenomenon. Again, echoing what every other scientist has been saying recently, that like, oh my God, this is happening faster than we thought, faster than expected. And you're going to hear these words a lot more this year, I'm sure. The other video that I checked out today, and I feel like I've watched this one before, but this is Jim Hansen, and you probably all know who Jim Hansen is, formerly of NASA. He, spoke a long time ago in the 90s about the imminent threat of climate change. He spoke to Congress, and he's been spelling it out for a long time. 20, 30 years he's been trying to tell us what's going on. And so he released a paper last year, and quite a few of you probably know about this, but it was controversial because it wasn't peer reviewed. And he had, there were a bunch of scientists. He wasn't, he headed up the paper. But what they were trying to do was put out information, to circumvent the peer review system and say, like, look, this is an emergency. This is, we need to put this information out here because, we need a reaction. We need action. So I think his, the intent was to generate some kind of reaction, which it did, and also to generate a little bit of publicity on their part, because I think people were, in the scientific community, they were like, this isn't peer reviewed, what's going on, why are you doing this, etc., etc. So anyways, this video is Jim Hansen talking about the ongoing situation, possible climate effects. He talks about the AMOC as well. About what's happening. Jim Hansen is still one of those guys that's stuck in well, we may see this in 2100 or the next century. He's still stuck on that really slow, apparently stuck in a slower linear, more linear type climate change scenario. He hasn't, even though he thinks it's an emergency, even though he's released this non-peer reviewed paper, and he's, clearly, he's clearly worried about this. He's clearly concerned, and yet he's still, in his mind, it's this slow couple of meters, sea level rise in 100 years kind of thing. And maybe he's right, maybe not, but it's, I feel like more and more, I think he's eventually going to come to the realization that 2100 is a ridiculous idea. But anyway, so I'm going to link these two videos down below. Check them out. Tell me what you think. These just feeds into more and more evidence that this is happening faster, and it's, the idea of climate change denial is almost becoming just ludicrous. I mean, if this is some kind of large, scale conspiracy, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. So, anyways, thanks again for watching. Talk to your friends, keep spreading the word. I wanted to give a shout out to Deborah, who's left a few great comments on my pages on some of the videos. She has a climate awareness Facebook page, and if I don't link it in this one, I'll link it in one of the next videos. So maybe you can join that, and there's a bunch of people, concerned people, part of an ongoing discussion about climate change. This has to be somehow addressed on a larger scale than it's been being addressed, and I don't really know. I've come to the conclusion again, I don't know how to do that. It seems to be a daily, my daily run-in with the wall of, what the hell are we going to do? Maybe y'all feel that same thing. I'm sure some of you do. But I don't know. I'm thinking about, ways to take action myself, or ways to get the word out myself. It's hard. It's difficult without, it's difficult to not alienate the people that I already know, the people that know me, through music or through a social circle. Just, they're just not interested in this kind of stuff. So you try and tell them that, disaster is imminent, and they're just kind of like, glaze over, and there's your glassy-eyed cult for you. The cult of optimism. The cult of everything's going to be fine, or it won't. I don't know. What are we going to do about it? I got kids to feed, and I definitely get that sentiment totally. I mean, we all have to pay bills. We all have to make money. We all have to continue living life somehow on some kind of level, But a deep and profound change is necessary on an order of magnitude that we have not considered yet. So anyways, that's all for me. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.